Hello, and welcome to hopefully what's going to be a last video of pure 3D modeling that we are going to do for this particular project, this particular model, where we're just going to kind of finish up with some details and set everything up to be ready for 3D printing, and then if we have time, I will just create a few materials and render out this form in a nice way. So what we have so far is what I would consider to be quite a nice model, but there are still a few things here and there that I'd like to change. There is one part here that I might revisit later in these videos. It's these 4 pipes here. I don't really like the aesthetics of them, but besides that, everything else seems to be good. And actually, let me hide them for a bit. Yeah, so this portion right here seems to be quite well balanced, quite nice. The only 2 details that I want to add is, or rather 3 details that I would like to add is something here in the top of the sphere, because I will not be able to do a perfectly smooth sphere, especially considering that it's made out of 2 halves. Once I glue it, once I 3D print it, once I glue it, and so on, that seam is going to be there. So I need to add something here to distract from the seam. And also I want to add a little bit more weight to this area right here. So where do we start? Let's start with the sphere. So I'll just isolate like so, and let's think about this. Wait, show selected. Let's see how this. So this guy that we have here, it just kind of moves into place and is going to be glued into the socket here. So what I want to do. Yeah, definitely. What I want to do is I want to chamfer this edge to be able to push in the eye. Let's call it the eye, into the eye socket, right? I will just do chamfer edge. Next chamfer distance 0.2 millimeters. Let's do something small. 0.2 should still. Oh. I missed one spot there. There we go. 0.2 millimeters should be good enough. Yeah, something like that. Very easy. Okay, and now for the top portion. So how do we distract from the fact that there's going to be a seam here? Maybe just adding some text will do. So let me just type in text. And I will just type in... what kind of text do we add? So the model that I'm, or not the model, but the GUNPLA robot kit that I'm creating this geometry for is called Grimgerde. So I will just say G dash 20 for 2020. Yeah, G20. That's fine. Is it Arial? Do we want to stay with Arial or do we change it? Arial is kind of nice for these for this application because everything is quite sharp. Let's stick with Arial. We'll see. So I'll just hit OK and just place it somewhere near my model. And actually, let's jump to set view, top view. There we go. So I have my G20 text here. So now this is a text object. We need to convert it to curves. So I will just explode it. Once you explode a text object, it becomes a collection of curves. Very useful for laser cutting. And I will, for now, group it. Okay, so now size-wise, we want this to be bigger. Is this good enough? Let's see. I'll measure the distance of how thick it is, 0.4 millimeters. Actually, I want it to be a bit bigger as well. So let me undo the explode and let me choose bold text style. So that's going to be thicker. Scale it up again. Explode. Distance again. I want it to be at least 0.6 millimeters, 0.547. So let me scale from here to here. I want 0.6. Okay, we have that done. I can move it here. It's a bit small. Maybe that's fine. Yeah. 0.6. Can we get away with scaling it to 0.8? Just to get more resolution there. Yeah, seems fine. Okay, 0.8 millimeters then. Okay, so I have my text here, and in perspective view you can see that it was in the base. I'll just move it above my form here. Oh, and forgot to group it again. So I'll group it. And now what I'm going to do is I'll project it. So there are different ways on how you can project text onto your form. In this case, I'm going to use a very regular one, very regular project. But before we do that, I want to rotate this text a bit. So I'll go to left view, like that, and I will just shaded view. I will just rotate it so, without snapping turned on, I will rotate it so that it's kind of parallel with the curvature of the sphere and move it more closely down. Just like that. Okay, that's good. And now we can actually project it. So I'll select my curves. Yeah, I'll type in project, enter, select surfaces to project onto. So I'll select my half of the sphere here. And direction is going to be C-plane Z, meaning that this is my C-plane, so it's going to project straight down. I'll hit enter, it gets projected. And of course it projects, to here as well. I only care about the top portion, so I'll unselect the top portion and just hit delete to get rid of everything else. And don't need that anymore. Okay, so we have our G20 right here projected. It's a little bit stretched out. That's the limitation of this particular working method, but that's fine. Let me hide that part as well. When I have this done, I will select my G20 and I will type in, no, wait. Let me group them. Group the curves. I will select my form and I will type in split, and my cutting objects are going to be my curves. Enter. So now and now I don't need the curves anymore. So now my polysurface was split with those curves, meaning that I can do whatever I want with these letters here. And what I want to do with them is I want to either extrude or offset them. Do we offset or extrude? Do we offset or extrude? Let's offset. I want to offset surface, offset them inwards by 0.6. Sure, let's do 0.6 millimeters, just like that. So it gets thickened up. And I'll just use extract SRF with copy set to no to just extract the top surfaces. Enter, and just delete them out, right? So I end up with this emboss. Is it emboss? I don't know. With this effect of these curves. And I'll just join them up. So that's done. And it says that it was jointed to a closed polysurface. We're very happy with it. So now just a few more things to fix. First one is I want to go around all of these edges here and chamfer edge. Just like that, chamfer these edges. Is it too much? Maybe that's a bit too much, yeah. Chamfer Edge 0.1 millimeters. That will probably not even show up in the final 3D print, but it will show up in the render, so at least that. So I'm just selecting the edges that I want to that I want to chamfer, hitting enter. Edges get chamfered, super. I move on to the next. Like that one as well. Actually, let me also do the number 2 here as well. Like that. That. Am I missing anything? No. And here I don't have any sharp corners, so I don't need to chamfer it. Okay, so I have that chamfered, and let me do one more pass. Chamfer Edge 0.1, and this time I will choose face edges because I will select the whole bottom part of this letter, for instance. Hit enter, and it will select all of the edges that face touches, and I can chamfer all of those edges at the same time. It just saves me some time. Looks good, no problems, super. Let's continue. Chamfer Edge, face edges. Let me repeat it for remaining 3 letters, not symbols. It takes a while. Yep, there we go. Double checking. That's good. That is good. That is fine, and that is good. Okay, so I'll keep this as it is. Okay, we have this portion done. Show selected, and let me actually show you whichever, doesn't matter. This one, this guy right here, right? What if I want to project some text on the surface of this cylinder? I can't do that easily with just project because it will stretch out way too much. The radius is too low. So another method of how to do this is if you go to how do I show you this? Is it under surface tools? I just want to find where they're hiding the UV, come on. Yeah, whatever. In standard tab on the left hand side under this where we have project curves tool, if you click on this small triangle, then you can here in the bottom of this sublist you can find UV, create UV curves and apply UV curves. So first of all, create UV curves. I selected that tool and then I select my cylinder here, hit enter, and you can see it kind of creates this unwrapped, unrolled block of curves, right? These are just, separate curved rectangles. And I could do the same thing for other geometry as well, but it becomes a bit more tricky. With something like a cylinder, it's much easier. Let me do a text, and here I will write, what do we write here? What's Grimgerd 01. There we go. Something like that. And I will just make sure that it's, I want it to be bold. I want it to be bigger, like that, even bigger, like that. Perfect. And now I will explode. Oh, it's turned around, doesn't matter. I'll just rotate it around. And now we have Grimgerd text right here. Okay, let me group that text real quick. And let me change the change object, change the layer of the text. And so this is what we did here is basically like an unwrapped, we unwrapped the cylinder to be flat on the ground, and then we created some text in it, and now we want to wrap back the cylinder onto the red geometry that we have here. So I will go back to the UV tool here, and you can see that if I click with the left mouse button, it means create UV curves. If I right click on that same icon, it will apply UV curves. So I'll right click on it. It will ask me to select points and planar curves to apply. So I'll just select it. Enter. Select surface to apply the points to. And I select my cylinder. And it's upside down, but that's fine. So now I can see, you know, the positioning of it, and it's wrapping around quite nicely. So let me fix it a bit. It's a bit too big. Scale 0.5, something like that. And let's try again. 0.5 is a bit too much. Scale 1.2. Back to this. Okay, so back to apply curves. I don't remember. Apply UV. Apply curve. There we go. So I select that, and I select my cylinder, and it applies the curve. It's upside down. We don't care about it. And for some reason it applies it here, but I want it to be near the end. So let me do this. Again, apply curve. It's all trial and error. There we go. Now it's applied properly. Super. Okay, so we have that done. I don't need this anymore. We have this done, and I have my group of curves here, and I have a bunch of other curves. So I'll just cell CRV, select curves, and select the group of curves that I have, and hit delete. And then it's kind of the same method of working. Let me isolate. Same method of working. I just select my tube here. I will type in split. I will split with the text. Cell CRV, delete the text. Select all of these letters. Offset surface, and actually for this one I will offset it outwards by just 0.2 millimeters, just like that. Okay, so now we have this text which is offset, which is nice. And or do we want it to be embossed? Offset seems to be a little bit yucky. Okay, let's emboss it. Let's flip all, so they offset inwards, 0.2. There we go. Okay, that's great. That's done. And again, extract surface. Extract that boy, that. I could do this with booleans as well, but I prefer to do it this way because it's just I have more control over it. Okay, let's check the Arctic view. What's up with that? Why is it not joined up? Join. Let me hide to just check what's not joining. Ah, yes. So for instance, this portion right here, we only need the top of the surface to cap it off, I believe. Yes, we only need the top surface to cap it off. And there's going to be more like this right here. So what I'm going to do is I'll select all of these bits and pieces and move them back by like 1 centimeter. Extract surface here, 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 and here, and move those extracted surfaces back by 10 millimeters. And now I don't need these anymore, so I just hit delete and join all of these up. Closed polycircle. Super. We have it going. It broke a little bit. No, it's not breaking. I believe if I chamfer the edge, it will go away. Yeah, it goes away. So it's not broken, it's just low quality mesh preview. That's fine. Okay, let's finish up here. Actually, I have some stuff here laying around. I don't need that. So we have that, and we have that done. We have that. That is good. That. I want to keep this simple, so I will not be messing around with that. Let's finish up with this one and start rendering. I'll isolate it. How do we start? Let's start by creating a circle, a round curve, and select this. I can't select it. Select this curve. And just create a circle that is going to be 2 millimeters in, yeah, sure, 2 millimeters in radius, so 4 millimeters in diameter. That seems fair. Extrude curve, and just extrude it like so, and cap. So now I want, I have this sticking out cylinder here that, I want 2 of them. I want one to stick out upwards, one to stick out downwards, I believe. Yeah, that will be cool. So I want to rotate this cylinder around the axis that we have going along here by 45 degrees up and by 45 degrees down. So I need that axis. And to do that axis, I'll just draw a line from center of that circle to center of this circle, like so. And now I'll fish out that line that I drew and just move it somewhere here, just because it's easier for me to select it. And now I can select my cylinder and rotate, rotate 3D, start of rotation axis, just click on the end point of this curve, and end of rotation axis, click anywhere else on this curve. So that means that this is now my axis of rotation, and I can do 45 degrees, right? Just like that. Good. And now I'll repeat the rotate 3D command. I'll say use last axis. And this time I will choose to copy, yes. And I'll type in -90 degrees so that it copies it like by rotating upwards by 90 degrees. Okay, so we have that done. Do I like it? Yeah, I think that's gonna be fine. Okay. And I will just use Boolean union between these 3. We have them incorporated. I will use fillet edge. I'll fillet that edge. That seems fine. Fillet that edge. That also seems fine. And I will choose chamfer edge with 0.2. For this portion here, maybe more. Fillet edge 0.5. Yeah, for that portion and for that portion, okay. And while we're at it, I will just extract surface, get rid of that surface. Duplicate border to get the circle. I will offset the circle inwards by 0.8, sure, and then I will offset it by no, let's do 1.2 millimeters like that, and 1.2 millimeters like that, and then just take this circle and kind of move it along the seam inwards by also 1.2 millimeters, just like that. And I will loft between first curve, second curve, third curve to get something like this, and then I can join everything up, log that layer, select curve, delete all of the curves, and just cap it. Create one cap. Oh yeah, okay, so it created the cap. Good. So we have this element here, show selected. Let's just show it all, delete that part, mirror this to the other part, 0. Okay, we have this going. Now it's time to prepare everything for 3D printing. So I will, the way I'm going to do it is I will just make a quick copy of this, like that, and I'll create a new layer and call it for 3D printing. And I'll just move everything to that layer. Okay. And let me actually isolate so that it's easier. Okay, so we want to make all of this 3D printable. Where do we start? We will need 2 of these. I'll start with this one. So we will need 2 of these. We need to figure out the orientation of it for 3D printing. I think we can, yeah, we will use this base plate as the bottom of the form when it's going to be 3D printed. So I will use orient 3 points, orient 3 PT, and I will just select any 3 points on the surface. And I will also just select any 3 points on my ground plane. So now it gets oriented down, and I need 2 of them. So I'll just make a copy like that, position it something like so. Okay, so we have that done, and these 2 are finished. So then I need to, let's do a sphere, or rather let's first take out the eye from the eye socket. And this one is very easy. This one is just rotate, rotate 90 degrees and move vertical, M, enter, V, enter, from this point to 0. So it just gets moved down, and we only need 1 of them. So it just stays there. Okay. And then, what do we work with? I guess let's do the sphere next. So I'll just move this 2 halves of the sphere. These are different. So it's a no-brainer how it's going to be 3D printed. Just rotate 90 degrees like that. Rotate 90 degrees like that. Move vertical from here to 0. From here to 0. Oops. Let me move it back. There we go. So we have the sphere done as well. And I'm rushing through this because I don't think that this is the most interesting bit, you know, to look at, but it is a very important one as well, because you can design whatever you want, but then you actually need to produce it, right? So let me delete 2 of those, because we will only be working with these 2 cylinders here, and actually we'll just have 2 extra copies of them. I need to remember that the bottom one is longer and the top one is shorter. Bottom one longer, top one shorter. Okay, so using the same method, orient 3 points, I will just, let me turn off center snapping for now. I'll just kind of select 3 points here, select 3 points there, and same thing here, 3 points, like that. Okay, so we have these two guys here chilling, doing their thing. There is one thing that I want to that I want to fix, and it's, I could print them like so, but they would be very weak. I need to print them because all of the layers of the 3D print would just go, you know, layer after layer, so they could snap off really easily. I want to print them horizontally, but that's a problem because these are cylindrical, meaning that they will not stick to the print bed that well. So what I'm going to do is I'll actually create a create a bounding box like that, and I'll move that bounding box down by half of this size, just like that. And I'll use, actually let me also increase, let me increase the length and the width of the bounding box, and I'll use Boolean split. We'll split this with this, hit delete. So now we have two halves that I'm going to glue together. Easy. There we go. And now move vertical, vertical 0. Move vertical 0. Okay, and let me just quickly make a copy of this, because again we will need them to be, we'll need them to be in pairs, right? So same thing for this one, just rotate it, bounding box, move vertical, scale, Boolean, not difference, Boolean split, this one with this one, delete the box, move this out, rotate it 90 degrees, 180 degrees, move vertical from here to here 0, move vertical from here to here 0. Okay, and then let me move this closer and also copy, copy. There we go. Just place it correctly and just move it here. There we go. So we have the top part done. Now let's do the, oh, this one I forgot. We already did this part. That's super. Okay. So I can just take this, take one of these, move them here, separate them like that, so they're separated, orient 3 points from here to here to here, doesn't matter how we orient them, to here, that's great. Again, orient 3 points from here to here to here, and just orient them. Hello? What do you mean? Tangent point 3. That was weird. Let's try again. This object from this point, let's say, to this point. I'm just clicking on 3 points on the flat piece of surface that I can find, which I'm going to use as a surface for printing. Okay, so we have this done, and I will have 2 of these, so I just make a copy. Just like that. Let me rotate this just so that everything kind of fits nicely. There we go. So we have that done. Now, yeah, this one is done. Now, these cylinders. So I have two of them that are going to be quite easy and one with the text. So let's do one with the text first. First, I will orient it again. Just find 3 points on any section of the cylinder that you have, and might as well just orient this one while we're at it. Or wait, are these the same? Yeah, these are the same, aren't they? So I'll just have text on all 3 of the cylinders. Why not? So I can just say, let us rotate this like so. Let us do a bounding box like so. Let us move that bounding box to the half and just make sure that it doesn't intersect with the text, because that seam will really mess you up. Just like that, and Boolean split. We split this with this, delete. We have 2 halves, super, and we just do that. Move this a little bit closer. Maybe that's a bit too close. Like that. Move vertical, like so. Actually, I will just move vertical from this point 0. I just want to make sure that I didn't mess up, because yeah, that's good. If you mess up this part, it's not going to be pretty. It's just going to make a bunch of supports underneath the cylinders, and you don't want that. Okay, so we have that going for us. Seems good. Oh yeah, and we need 2 more of these. So that's 1 more, and that is going to be one more. Okay, so 3 cylinders in total, and let me just place them. Something like so. This one will need a support, so I will just move the cylinder out of the way a bit. Okay, let's see how big this whole thing is. Let me draw a rectangle, 3 points, and I will just draw 200 millimeters by 200 millimeters. That's my print bed. Yeah, everything fits perfectly. Okay, so we have all of this geometry set up, and then I will mesh it and so on, and then slice it and 3D print it. You'll see in the next video of this series. But now, the thing that I want to do, I'll just hide that. Show selected. I want to make this pretty and render out some nice images of it. So I want to create a bunch of materials for it. And let me just double check. We do have a few materials in Vray that's already done, but actually I will just create come on, just give me generic. There we go. I'll just create a generic material, select everything in the scene, and apply that generic material to selection. So now I can purge the scene. But apparently I can't purge the scene. What's up with that? Is it because... Okay, let's do it this way then. Everything's unlocked, everything is shown, select everything, generic material. Okay. And now hide that, and that. I only care about this. Zoom selected. Purge. There we go. So now it's just the generic material, and let me kind of fix the environment a bit. Clear. No reflection. Why are you 10,000? You should be 1. That doesn't matter. Okay. Background is black, everything is black. Let's see how it smaller size. Let's see how it looks like. Yeah, as expected, it's black because we don't have any light sources here. So I'll just create a few rectangular light tools, just like that. So this one is looking downwards. How do we do this? I will create 3 lights in total. One is going to be shining from the back, like that. Another one is going to be, holding down the Alt key, I just copy it. Another one is going to be shining from the front, like that. And third one is going to be shining from the bottom. Is it perfectly from the bottom? Sure, let's do perfectly from the bottom, or maybe bottom, yeah, like that, 30 degrees, like that. And now let me go to top view. So we have these 3 guys here, and let me say that this is rotated 30 degrees like that. Are you, which one are you? You're from the top. So this one needs to just slightly do that. So we have the main light here, we have the secondary light here, and then we have the rim light in the bottom. So rim light will need to be bigger. Bigger, and also I believe it should shine like so. Yeah, something like that. Okay, we have 3 lights, and let me make all of them unique. So I'll select every one of them, go to properties, click on make unique. Make unique. Yeah, and this one is by default unique. Okay, so now for the strength. The main light is gonna be, let's say, 100% or whatever, 100 units strong. And let me call it main light. Then the secondary light, I'm not even sure if it's a secondary light. No, shit, that's the secondary. So that one is the rim. Come on, rim. I can't write. Rim light. Rim light, and this one is going to be stronger. This is going to be 200. And this one is going to be weaker. This is going to be 50. And this is going to be secondary. Okay, so main light is usually, well, not usually. You do what you want to do, but I usually do it a bit warmer. This is way too warm. Just like that. Just slightly, a slight tint. Then rim light I stick to white, and for the secondary light I make it a little bit colder. Just something like that. Okay, let's hit render, see what happens. Oh, camera depth of field. Okay, so we have this going. This is good enough. Well, not good enough, but this is fine. For the lights, I forgot to do one thing. 2 things actually. First one is I want them to be invisible. Second is I really hate rectangular lights. I prefer to use disc lights. So I'm just going to my light settings, choosing the lights, choosing invisible here, and changing from rectangle to disc. Invisible from rectangle to disc. Okay, so that part is done. Now if I hit render, yeah, seems to be good. Actually, let me do quality draft so that it renders faster. I'm not, usually I do real-time rendering, but since now I'm recording, I know that it's going to lag out really badly. So I'm doing this instead. I'll just hit render every time when I want to change it. When I want to see the changes happening. So now we only have one material here, and let me select the lights and lock them in place. Now we only have one material, and that is generic. So I want to create a few materials, and I'm going to be lazy, and I'm going to say we're going to have, let's say, 3 or 4 different materials. Yeah, let's go for 4 different materials and 1 emissive material, meaning material that shines light. So for the emissive material, I'll just click on the new material, create asset icon here, materials, and choose emissive, and just I'll specify glow. Or let's call it emissive actually, as it was. Emissive, and I will just make a color of it. Maybe something like that, and intensity I'll just do 100. Okay, so we have our glowy boy, and now let's do some more. So again, I'm kind of lazy, so for something like this I will just use the library of materials that Vray already has. If I were to do an actual, like a commercial project, I would be creating my own materials for sure. I like the red, so I'll use Car Paint Flakes Wine Red. I'll just drag it in, like so. Car Paint Matte Black, sure, I'll use that as well. Car Paint Stochastic Black, so this one is going to break. It's going to break color into this kind of rainbow effect. I like that. So we have that. And what else? We have red, matte black. Is it actually matte? It looks shiny. Oh yeah, that's very shiny. Less. Still shiny. Reflection, less. Yeah, there we go. That's matte black. Okay, so we have those. We need metal, right? So I'll just go to metals and let's find aluminum polished, aluminum brushed, aluminum blurry. Let me... brushed looks better. Yeah, brushed looks better. So I'll just use aluminum brushed. Okay. We have 5 materials in total plus generic, which we don't care about. So now it's time to start adding the materials to our shapes. So I will begin by, how do we do this? Do we isolate? No, we add materials and then we hide the geometry, right? That's the way to go. Yeah. Okay, so these tubes for sure will be red. Red, red, red. And this one, do we want the text to be different color? No, we don't. We like it when it's just red, so I'll hide it. Okay, so that's done. And now let's do the eye socket. Actually, let me isolate and just work with it. So overall, I believe this should be either red or aluminum. Let's go for aluminum. Like that. And it says it's brushed every 5 centimeters, but let's actually check. Reflection maps, there are no reflection maps. Refraction, there's bump map. This. Yeah, that's actually fine. I could use a UV map, but We don't care, doesn't matter. Okay, so we have this, it's aluminum, and then I will use extract surface, and I'll extract that ring there, and actually I want that ring to shine light, so I'll apply emissive material to it, like that. Oops, enter. And then I will apply the material to it. And then we want this part to be red, I think. If everything's aluminum, then this is shining. Maybe I'll just extract surface. I'll just make this, or no. I'll just use this one and just make it, where's the red? Apply. Okay, let's check it out. Could be better, but I like how this looks, so we will keep it. Maybe instead of aluminum we could use matte black paint. Okay, so we have this. I will just group everything to one big happy family, and then continue working with. Let's go for this one. Let's continue working and hide this one. Let's work with this one. So for this one, let's start by having red color for all of it, right? So wine red for all of it, or rather show selected. I want the bottom part of it as well. So both of these are wine red, apply. Okay, and now I want to first distinguish the parts that are not going to be red. So extract surface, and here I'm just breaking it all down. So these surfaces here are not going to be red. Okay, we are back, and you saw the sped up version. It was very boring. It was just me extracting surfaces and adding materials to, to each individual piece that we saw. But this is what what I have so far. I kind of like it. It's pretty good. So now it's all about finding the correct composition and rendering it out. And maybe something like this would look pretty cool. Just a little bit more like that. And then just testing it out over and over again. A few things in Vray that I really like to use are for something small. So this is a miniature piece, right? Like a small piece that I'm rendering. A camera, there's no camera that will not have any kind of depth blur. Well, even at this scale, even a phone camera would have this kind of a blurring effect for foreground and background. So I can turn on depth of field, and by clicking this icon, pick point, I can choose where to focus, to which point to focus on. So I'll just choose, I want to focus on, let's say, that midpoint right there, and that's a lot of defocus. I'll just choose 0.25, and then if I hit render, it will look pretty, realistic already. So as you can see here, 0.25 defocus is way too much for this particular shot. So I will do something a bit less, 0.15, and then try again. But actually, before we try, there's another thing that I want to show you, and we'll finish off with that. Volumetric environment. So I have 3 lights, and I can create this environment fog effect. And if I hit render right now, you will see how it looks like by default. Right? So that's the fog effect, and I can control its distance, its color, and so on. So I will, since this is like a dark render scene that we're doing, I will decrease the fog color, like I'll darken the fog itself, and emission multiplier I'll leave it as 1. Distance, this is how far you can see in the fog. So the larger the number here, the further you can see. Maybe no, this is fine. Distance 1000 is okay, and height is how high the fog is, so I can do 1000 as well. So like a meter high fog, and you can only see a meter in it. So this is a really dense fog. Scatter GI just makes the light bounce around in the fog. Yeah, so I never let it run for a long period of time before I already can tell if it's good or bad and if I should kind of change anything about it. But I like how it looks like. I think it's good enough. Definitely in the top 80%, or not top 80%, but like the quality, I would rate it as more than 80%, right? And that's good enough in my book. And yeah, I will just do some shots of it. I'll create a render, a few renders actually. I'll show them in the end of this video, which we're currently at. We are at the end of this video. And next time we will be doing some 3D printing, some sanding, some priming, and so on. And I believe I will also be working on this kind of a, where do we have it? There we go. I'll be creating some sort of a base for this model as well. So some form of a base for this model to stand on. We'll see. But that's going to be in the next video. Actually, the next video might be something else, might be grasshopper related. We'll see. In a few days. For now, we are done. Hope you enjoyed these modeling series. I know this was quite simple, and the tools shown here were quite simple, but my aim was to show the tools for new users of Rhino, just to get them more acquainted to how you think while you're modeling, and how you assemble all of these different pieces and all of these different surfaces into one semi-large scale project. We will be doing more of these in the future for sure, and we'll go a bit more advanced, because now I have the baseline kind of done, and now we can go quite advanced with this. So the next one that we do, next series that we do, will be all about fancy stuff, fancy forms and so on. That's it from me for today. I will see you in a few days. Bye.